to have you with us. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of Investor's Guide. I'm Avni Raja, and on this show, we try and simplify the basics of financial planning. Today, we're going to speak specifically about tax planning. It's, of course, the end of the financial year, which is coming up, and a lot of people are scrambling about to do last-minute tax planning. But it's also a good time, once you've done that, to start planning for the next year, and it will really help you sort of pace out your entire financial planning, your tax planning, and that is something that can help you in the long run. But to understand all of this and to sort of even recap what changes happened in the last budget round, how you could use that to your benefit, I'm being joined by Feroz Aziz of Anand Rathi Wealth Management. Feroz, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, the important topic today is tax planning at this point in time. But before we get to a lot of the other details, I just want to sort of recap what happened in Budget 2020 because there was a completely new tax slab that was announced, and it gave people the option to choose one or the other. So let's first, if you could recap for us, what was that change?
Avni, I really appreciate that you're taking up this topic. Otherwise, it's very, very prominent for people to actually look forward to newer budgets, newer benefits and swaps, but forget the ones which were done in the past and not use those effectively. So I think one thing, like you highlighted, Avni, last year from an income tax perspective was a crucial budget because it introduced a cleaner tax mechanism for a person, and the best part of it was optional for a person to choose between one or the other. That's a very large generosity shown by the ministry in the last budget. The good part of actually having two alternatives is there could be one person who wants to make it, who is hands-on, who understands the provisions, has all the exemptions taken. There could be another person who says, I don't want to get into all this, I just want to play a flat rate and get done with it. So I think to start the topic, the first one was to have two alternatives. The first one in which you have all the 100-odd provisions in which you can take tax benefit. That's one. The second one which was there, which was announced last year, was to say pay a rate as per the slab, which were the fresher reduced slabs, but you cannot use the provisions for any further tax discounts. So option 2 is for a person who wants to not get into the nitty-gritty. Option 1 is for a person who knows it all and has a CA supporting. Option 2, the good part is, if you're earning 15 lakh rupees a year, you will end up paying a total tax of close to 2 lakhs or little less than 2 lakhs, which is 14-15% tax only if your salary bracket is 15, and you actually don't have to make any compulsory investments to take benefit of this tax slab. If your take home is lesser, you want to have a cleaner tax and make sure that you take as much as you can and you're not going through compulsory savings to get a tax benefit, then option 2 introduced last year is very attractive.
Right, so now
option 1 is for those who have a home loan, who have SIPs running.
Right. So, Feroz, for somebody who has to choose which option to opt for at this point in time, what are the things that one should keep in mind and sort of to make sure that the option that they're choosing works best for them?
Correct. So let me give a thumb rule, Avni. If a person is using tax deduction to the extent of 75,000 and above, option 1 will be more beneficial. If he or she is not utilizing even 75,000 of the limits of tax deduction, then he should choose option 2. This is the key thumb rule to decide which one do you opt for.
Okay, and in your own, recommendation or advice, there are, of course, some tax-saving instruments that you can automatically use. For example, if you have a home loan or something like that, where it automatically gets put into that category. But then there are other tax-saving instruments like, say, an ELSS or other instruments where you have to voluntarily, make those investments. So for somebody who's trying to choose, which one would you recommend in that, whether it makes sense to go in for, the ones you can voluntarily invest, for example, ELSS funds from a long-term perspective to get that tax advantage?
I think I personally would recommend people to stick to the option one, which has been existing for long periods of time, because over several budgets, a lot of provisions have been introduced to get tax benefit. So if somebody has a 10 lakh rupees salary, in option one, he or she can get away paying zero tax. That's the number of provisions which are there built over periods of time. So option one is the recommended one, unless a person has a need of a larger take home today for whatever situation is. For example, this whole pandemic situation has resulted in a need for a higher take home, then option two is more valid. Otherwise, in principle, option one is a better one.
Okay. The other aspect also, Feroz, is as far as the dividend distribution tax is concerned and mutual fund investors who've opted for the dividend option. What is the recommendation now? Obviously, it would make more sense to go in for the growth option if you are in the dividend option now because of the new tax implications.
Yes, Avni, you've said it all, and I think you're absolutely right. Dividends till last year were taxed in the hands of the issuer, be it a company, be it a mutual fund. Whenever there is a dividend, in the past, there was a deduction which is called the dividend distribution tax, as the name suggests. So if there's a 100 rupee dividend which a mutual fund is issuing, the mutual fund would deduct about 12% in an equity scheme and pay you the money. Now what changed last year is the mutual fund companies have been told not to deduct any dividend distribution tax, which seems like a good news. But then when the dividend comes to your bank account, then you will have to pay the tax yourself, which implies that if you are in the highest tax bracket, you will be paying a lot more than what was being paid by the mutual fund on your behalf. So dividend distribution tax being abolished means that the dividends coming to you and me will now be taxed in our hands. So moving out of dividend alternatives to growth option is very sensible for people who are in the highest tax bracket. If somebody has no other income and is below 5 lakhs, a dividend payout will still make sense, because once the dividend comes to your hand, you will have to anyway not pay a tax because you don't have other sources of income. So it's very personal, important, but I think anybody in the highest tax bracket should move all his money or her money from dividend to growth. Right.
Yes, absolutely, Feroz. Extremely important points there. And finally, Feroz, my last question, what I started off with, to try and avoid doing last-minute tax planning. And what is your advice for people, to start early and things to keep in mind when you're planning ahead?
Avni, I think it's important that every viewer puts this right in his mind share, that especially tax investments in mutual funds, which are called equity-linked savings schemes, are very, very efficient. And when you're going to have your money locked in for 3 years, there is a reasonable probability of a double-digit return for you. So making a systematic investment plan, not worrying each and every year between Jan and March when your HR is following up with you for tax proofs, then is not when you need to actually think of investing. Do a systematic investment plan for the next 10 years into an ELSS scheme, which is good. For example, I can also recommend one, Access Long-Term Equity. Start an SIP and make sure that it's recurringly going, so you get the tax benefit, you get the investment return, you also get the compounding benefit. And that's the best thing to do. So I think what you're saying, Avni, is very popular, that people rush during February, March to make their investments, and they go wrong, they pick up wrong insurance policies.
Yes.
And save the tax but lose a lot more in performance.
Yes, absolutely, Feroz. Let's hope that some of your viewers actually take this advice and start planning early enough, at least for next year's tax planning, if not this year. Thank you so much for joining us with all of those details, Feroz, and all that advice. On that note, time to wrap up this edition of Investors Guide. Thank you so much for watching.